G'day you mob, Pete here, and this is another episode of Aussie English, the number one place for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So today I have a Goss episode for you where I sit down with my old man, my father, Ian Smisson, and we talk about the week's news, whether locally down under here in Australia or non-locally overseas in other parts of the world. Okay, and we sometimes also talk about whatever comes to mind, right? If we can think of something interesting to share with you guys related to us or Australia, we also talk about that in the Goss. So these episodes are specifically designed to try and give you content about many different topics where we're obviously speaking in English and there are multiple people having a natural and spontaneous conversation in English. So it is particularly good to improve your listening skills. In order to complement that though, I really recommend that you join the podcast membership or the academy membership at aussieenglish.com.au, where you will get access to the full transcripts of these episodes, the PDFs, the downloads, and you can also use the online PDF reader to read and listen at the same time. Okay, so if you really want to improve your listening skills fast, get the transcript, listen and read at the same time, keep practicing, and that is the quickest way to level up your English. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on a bit. I've been talking a bit. Let's just get into this episode, guys. Smack the bird, and let's get into it. Dad, what's going on?
Hey, Pete.
How are you going?
Good. Hang on.
The obligatory beer. Where's mine? You got both of them.
Well, you just didn't pick it up. There you go.
Didn't pick it up. Did we do an episode about Phillip Island?
No.
We should probably just do a catch-up.
We should do a catch-up.
Although it's one of those things, that I think listeners, they're getting like an episode a week or every fortnight at the moment.
And we're recording them
once every couple
frequently.
Of months. Yeah, but a whole bunch of them at the same time, right?
Oh, hello. We've got Invasion of the Fat Cat.
I know. She's going to start meowing like crazy. Peaches
well, that's all right. She
up.
can join in the party.
She wants
mic her up.
Yeah, that's it. You'll hear her in the background. She'll start meowing at about 2 o'clock and stop when she gets fed.
At about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, you're going to feed her earlier than that, otherwise she's just
drives
impossible.
you nuts.
Yeah, oof. She's so funny how she's just chilled out since we got the other cat, Scrappy.
Yes.
Come a lot more placid. Anyway, so we went to Phillip Island recently.
We did.
It's always funny. I still remember every time I say Phillip Island.
Phillip Island.
Yeah. For years when I was a little kid.
What's a Pyland?
Yeah, I thought it was Phillip Island. I thought it was like one word.
Phillip Island.
The place is just called Phillip Island.
Well, welcome to Australian English.
Yeah, but it's Phillip Island.
It's sort of like German, where they just combine words into one word. So,
well, they add all of the.
Yes, the island of Phillip.
Yeah. Is that Arthur Phillip?
Yes.
And so, why was that named after Arthur Phillip when he was in and around Sydney?
I think it was just like Port Phillip Bay as well was named after him. I think it was when people were naming them. And I don't know who named Phillip Island. It might have been Bass or Flinders, but they were obviously naming things after all sorts of people, and Arthur Phillip was probably an appropriate person.
You wonder how they sort of determined what they were going to name things?
Well, a lot of times it was just the first sailor on board who saw something, or a lot of them were their British sponsors. So there's a whole lot of things named after Lord whoever, who was the admiral of the.
We got Lord Howe Island.
Yeah, Lord Howe. Yeah, exactly. Cape Howe, same thing. Oh, hello. Speaking of Scrappy.
Yes, the other cat's coming. He's hanging out as well.
Yes.
Anticipating food too in the next hour or so.
Or a pat. Yeah.
Probably both. But yeah, it's always interesting when you go around Australia and you find a lot of the same place names repeat again and again and again, especially the suburbs in the big cities, right? So I think there's at least a Richmond in both Melbourne and Sydney. There's probably one in Brisbane.
Yeah.
There's a few of these different suburb names.
Well, a lot of those were named after suburbs in London.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who clearly, when they first came here, when Melbourne was first settled and when Sydney was first settled by Europeans, well, British, people went, oh, we're going to name this after the place we came from. Yeah, when they make a suburb. So,
I feel like if I was sailing the world and I found a inhabited or uninhabited island that I claimed for myself, I feel like I would be more imaginative than just thinking about the names of places back home and being like, you know what, let's just repeat that.
Yeah.
Just create an equivalent here to really confuse everyone.
I know.
So do you mean Richmond back in London? Do you mean Richmond here? Do you mean it in Sydney?
Yeah.
Which one do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But so we went to Phillip Island for your birthday.
We did.
Why is it so special to you? We've probably covered it before.
I don't know. We have. I was my first family holiday that didn't go to my grandfather's house in Dromana, which is now effectively a suburb of Melbourne, but at the time it was a little town on the Mornington Peninsula, the other peninsula around Port Phillip Bay from where we live.
Yeah, so on the east side.
On the east side, yeah. And my grandfather owned a building there that had some shops and a flat, an apartment above it.
You showed me it on the way home.
Yeah, and we used to go there almost every holiday and stay there and go to the beach and stuff. But the first family holiday that I say family because my father never came. He didn't take time off work to go on family holidays.
Why is that?
I don't know. He just wasn't
into it?
No.
Or he wanted an excuse to escape you guys.
Exactly.
He was too tired.
Yeah. So we went on this family holiday down to Phillip Island, and so it was my first place of, there is a world other than going to Dromana.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where that would have been for me. Probably the farm in Bendigo or Wilson's Prom. It'd be one of those two things, I think.
Well, we went to Wilson's Prom camping a few times when you were young.
Oh, but
the first time you were very young.
I wouldn't remember that.
But I think you were probably 3 or 4.
No, I've seen the photos of me.
We went.
Okay.
Yeah, like the first time you were 10 months old.
Yeah, don't remember that. Besides the photos.
Yeah, but then we went a few more times when you were a child. But yeah, and then when I was a university student, I did my honours and PhD work on Phillip Island, working on rocky shores around there. And so did your mum. She did her PhD work there.
So you were doing
finished our PhD. I was working mussels. She was working on barnacles. So we spent a lot of time there. So it's got that sort of developing romance thing about it as well. And in the end, we decided to get married when we were sitting talking on Berries Beach at Phillip Island. So
it's funny, isn't it, how when you're young, I feel probably when you're young, because you have those experiences of developing, relationships or tastes or interests, you end up having those kinds of connections to places or things a lot more than I think you do as an older person. Like, I'm still into the same bands that I was into when I was a teenager. And I don't connect with new music the same way that I did with music at the time when I was a teenager, because probably a lot of that music I was exploring for the first time, and metal and rock and everything like that.
And you're right. I think it's that first time experience of new styles of music. But when you're young, every style of music is new.
But that's what I mean, right?
And you get hooked on particular types of music.
Yeah.
Like 60s pop music and 70s rock music is what I grew up on. And that 60s pop also included what at the time was called R&B and bears no relationship to the rubbish that they call R&B now.
Shots fired.
Well, it's not R&B. There's no rhythm and there's no blues involved.
It's evolved.
It has, but
it's changed to become something that doesn't represent what it originally was.
That whole Motown sound, the African-American pop rock music that had its roots in jazz and blues, that came out of Detroit, ironically, hence Motown, Motortown. That's what I grew up on, and I still love it. And but there are every now and then an artist comes along, and you go, and the two that I think of now, the sort of more modern ones, Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift.
Yeah, very
different styles of music from that 60s, 70s pop rock, but I just listen to them now and go, wow. But there's a lot that I'd listen to and go, this is just rubbish.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing watching music and the world of music change.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone, the spoils tend to go now exponentially, more of the spoils go to the top few artists than back in the day where you would record a CD and you would still get a few dollars from each CD sale, but now you get pennies on the dollar for, I think I heard...
So you say CD, there you were showing your age as CDs being old.
I know. But Snoop Dogg, I was listening to him talking about Spotify the other day, and he was like, what do you think I got for 1 billion downloads? How much do you reckon I got paid?
$1,000.
Yeah. I think it was like 45 grand.
Yeah.
I think it was like $45,000. So it was like 0.000045 of a cent per listen or something crazy. But you have like no other options now. If you want to get out there, you want to get known.
Very few people are buying physical copies of music. Although vinyls come back for who knows what reason.
I think it's probably that tactile, sensational in that it involves the senses. You open something, you smell something, you have a machine that you put the thing on. And much more than CDs. CDs were just like you just slide in a slot.
Well, it was electronic and you're sliding in a slot. The thing that I used to love about records, vinyl recording music, was the record covers. Yeah, they were 12 inches, so 30 centimetres square, the artwork, and a lot of times they had, big fold-outs with all the lyrics and the stories about the songs and the band or the artist and stuff.
Well, that's an extension of the art.
It is. You just don't get in streamed music. Like,
well, you can't
try finding out who played the saxophone on a particular track now.
Yeah.
You've got to Google it and hope that somebody else has written that down.
It'll give you an answer.
It'll give you an answer, and then it'll take you an hour to verify it. You might as well just look it up in the first place.
I think it's one of those things, man, AI, Jesus Christ, that stuff is really starting to move along fast. One of my students that I'm giving private lessons to was showing me one of his presentations recently for, he works in horticulture, and the machines that he's using run simultaneously, and they can do they use AI to mow at the same time as spray for weeds, at the same time as, pick berries. Like there's these machines can just run 24/7, and they're programmed now to be able to do multiple tasks simultaneously. Yeah. And you're just like, good God, a year ago this was unimaginable. Yeah, Where are we going to be in a handful of years? The overlords.
Well, it's that stuff is a combination of AI, but also the engineering to build a machine that has the sensors to record data that the AI can actually use to then drive what the machine does.
And how quickly it can
do it. It's a very quick loop that they have to go through. Like if they're rolling a machine at walking pace or a bit slower down a row in an orchard or a vegetable patch or whatever it happens to be.
A cat bit me.
They need that feedback instantaneously, so it's a combination of physical engineering plus the IT, the digital technology. So
it's pretty nuts to just think about how quickly that stuff is going to change and make so many jobs obsolete. I think there'll probably be a huge proportion of people listening to this podcast who work in fields that within the next 5 years will no longer have anywhere near the same number of people working in them because it'll just be obsolete. Like I remember working in my industry, as a podcaster, the number of emails I get about people asking to do copywriting for emails and for sales pages and stuff since I started, has been crazy because it is something that I think with limited training, you can learn to do pretty quickly, especially if you're a good writer anyway. Like if you've already got that talent and then you start developing your eye or your what would you say, your words for it, you can do it. But now I can just ask ChatGPT to do it. And
then you've got the draft written.
One, I say, give me 10 variations of the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I add my element to it.
Yeah.
But it gives me instantaneous, like the other day, I've been using ChatGPT to create some new episodes for the podcast. And it's so good in terms of creative writing. It's not necessarily good in that it's better than really good creative writers, but it's so good in how quickly it can generate ideas for you to then use or change and adapt and play on.
I find it a little verbose. Mm-hmm. It throws in way too many adjectives and adverbs.
The fact that you can, like for instance, But
in terms of generating data, of saying, give me 10 facts that I need to know about this and some information about them, rather than saying, give me the final copy.
But for language learning, it's just insane. Like the applications. The recent video I did was I created a short story about... God, I've created a whole bunch recently, so I'm trying to test my memory and remember what it was about. The most recent one is about a fight in a pub, right? This American guy coming into an Australian pub, meets people, and a fight breaks out, and then it's kind of like he experiences that and then wakes up the next morning with a hangover. And I want to insert... I've got like 20 Australian slang words and phrases related to piss, getting on the piss, taking the piss, going to the pub, pints, schooners, all that sort of stuff. And I list that, and then I say, write me a story about an American's experience going to an Australian pub in the outback.
Using these words.
Include two other interesting characters that have become his friends and have, an altercation happen in the pub. And it just spits out an arc, like a story arc.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, change this bit, do this bit. I don't like that. Can you expand on this? And then I'll be like, now write the full story and include all that vocab in there. And it literally takes 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. And again, you read it and it's not like it's IQ 100, like it's pretty good. You'd get a B+, as you say, sometimes it's verbose, sometimes it's too simplistic. But again, you can just say, give me 5 variations in different levels of English, or different levels of verbosity, just the different levels of how descriptive you want to be. Shorten this. Don't be as verbose with this. And it just spits them out. And again, you still have to be the one at the top kind of pulling the strings and changing it and adapting it because
of course,
the first thing that comes out isn't necessarily ideal at the moment, but just the speed at which it can do it, because we were working on stuff previously for the academy, some of the modules that we were writing, and it would be like the kind of thing that would take you a day or more to write an essay on a certain topic. An hour. Yeah. And it's probably not as good, and it's not, but I think if you did it, if I gave you the task of write a story about XYZ, and you did it in conjunction with ChatGPT, it would just speed the process up because you just get like a format and everything and, laid out in front of you, and it can do things like spell check, and it's just, But
so how does it go in languages other than English? Have you tried it in French or Portuguese that you can
It apparently does it in all of them. Like I had one of those thoughts recently where I'm like, business idea wise, are there people out there who've created an app that just is a wrapper around an AI that can talk to you like a language buddy, and you can just have conversations with them in whatever language? Sure enough, someone had created an app that was effectively ChatGPT in a wrapper through WhatsApp, and you could just have conversations with the different avatars that are there in 380 languages. Yeah. And obviously, they probably
So
vary.
is it doing everything in English and translating, or is it doing it in the languages natively? Because I'm only thinking about when you if it's creative writing, as in write me a story about this, you can do it in any language. It depends
on what you're asking, right? Like if you're asking about the history of George Washington,
it's only going to get references in Spanish or English.
It's not going to be in Chinese.
Because 95% of the internet is in English. And so it's sourcing pseudo-factual information from there. But if you're just asking it to generate a creative writing piece, then it's just throwing random words together. It's a different thing. But
but it's just it's absolutely blown my mind, just the application. Like you can just use it for so many things. I had a chat to it the other day. He was like, "Hey, ChatGPT, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think of this? This person said this." Like I've got a friend who talks to it like a psychiatrist at times, and gets like this non-judgmental, very neutral kind of responses back, of like...
If it was like a psychiatrist, it wouldn't get a response. Everything would be a question.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's really interesting.
Which is a cliche. I've never been to a psychiatrist, but then...
Yeah. Anyway, we got off topic.
We did. Phillip Island. Yeah, so we went to Phillip Island and we... for me, I love it because it's got things for everybody. I love the beaches and the rocky shores and the scenery and stuff, but there's
Great
the
white
penguins,
sharks.
which the penguins, which the kids really enjoyed.
Do you want to explain the story there with the little penguin?
Yeah, well, little penguins, the smallest species of penguin in the world. The largest breeding population of them is on Phillip Island. And in fact, it's on one end of one little beach at the end of Phillip Island. And some associated bits around there, but and it's become the second or third biggest tourist attraction in Victoria. It's been going for over 70 years, and obviously it's continued to grow. And the penguins mostly are when they're in breeding, which they've just started their breeding cycle. Breeding starts around September, October, and goes through till February, March. They're mostly coming up every night. So they go out fishing, feeding.
So they do that obviously locally?
They can go up to 20 kilometres away in a day.
Wow.
They can go further if they're during the winter. They go further because they'll stay out for a week.
The food.
They won't come back at night. But so they'll go out fishing during the day and then come back at night, and they come back right at dusk when there's still enough light for them to be able to see, but it's after most of the predators, which are mostly birds of prey and large gulls and things, are no longer going to be out looking for or hunting, and so they've always come up in huge numbers at this particular beach. And so it became a tourist attraction in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and it's just developed since then. So you go and you pay squillions of dollars now, but you go and sit down on these concrete benches and get a running commentary behind you for a while in English and Chinese, Mandarin, and the penguins will come up in they call them rafts, where they actually sit out at sea just beyond the waves breaking, and hang out until they get enough numbers, and they'll come up and march up the beach and go up into the dunes where they're nesting. So it's great to watch that sort of, it's a completely contrived environment now, but it's still a natural thing that happens. Yeah. The penguin's behaviour has not been altered by having this thing there. And now, of course, because it's been there so long, most of those penguins that are coming up will have been born there.
If not all of them, right?
They'll be,
if it's been on for 70 years.
They'll be tens of generations old, where that's their world is with this big concrete stand with a few thousand people sitting there watching them every night.
Yeah, it's not weird for them. It didn't just appear overnight. Exactly. It's always been there. What was your experience raising them? Because you've got an interesting story there, right? With having a bathtub full of little penguins.
Yeah, one of our friends from university used to be in fact, he was there for 40 years or something as the professional biologist that worked at the Penguin Parade, running research programs there, we were staying with him once when we went down to Phillip Island years and years ago. I think it was the first year we were married, because at the house we were living in, I remember it. And he'd had a couple of eggs that had been rescued from a poacher. Somebody had taken them out of a nest and was caught. And because they obviously don't know where they were taken from, and the person's never going to admit it. So he had them
What they done to what? Eat them? Sell them?
Eat them,
give them away? Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
get a chicken, mate.
Yeah, well, exactly. But he incubated them, and then by the time we were down there, they were half grown. And he was going away for a week on a couple of weeks on a research project that he was working at down at Gabo Island, which is right on off the east coast of Victoria. And he just said, "Can you guys look after them for a couple of weeks?" And so we took them home, and we had them in our bath, in a little box in the bath, so they could get under shelter and things. And we had to go down to the market every couple of days and get fresh fish for them to eat, pilchards, and feed them. And these penguins just squawking in our bath for a couple of weeks. And then we took them back down to his place when he was.
What happened with them in the end?
He just when they got to the point where
them in the ocean.
they have to fledge, so they have to molt, because obviously fledging doesn't mean much in a penguin, because normally fledging is when they can fly, but they have to molt to get rid of that downy.
Otherwise they'd sink like a stone.
Yeah, it's not waterproof. So once they got their waterproof feathers, their proper adult feathers, then he just released them back into the colony. So that was fun. So we've got a long history with Phillip Island, and so it's a good place to go. So hopefully you guys and the kids had fun.
Oh, definitely. Well, you discussed that too. We got a place on Airbnb.
Yeah,
and it backed onto the beach.
Backed onto the beach, which was one of the things to do, and it backed onto the Bay Beach.
Good grief.
And
what do you mean by that?
Well, the Phillip Island is it basically blocks off about 90% of the opening of Western Port Bay.
Well, it's like like you've got like Port Phillip Bay type thing, and then the interior of it is just a huge island in the middle of it.
Yes,
taking
up
all
a bay
that
with half of it is taken up by French Island, and then Phillip Island sort of closes off the gap. So the east end of Phillip Island has a bridge that you can get over to it. So it's not, you don't have to go to a ferry or anything. It's just a bridge driving across it. And so it's quite narrow. The western end is a few kilometres across back to the mainland. But so there's the bay beaches on the northern side, and then the ocean beaches, which are the surf beaches on the southern side. So yeah, I tried to find a house that is on the beach, on the bay side, so it's a safe beach. And the kids just went and mucked around in the sand and the water. And
well, it was crazy because it was. Oh my God, I can't imagine what it would have been like growing up in your childhood sort of era and being able to afford those kinds of houses and just having a back onto the beach. Obviously, you'd need a job that could allow you to be down there, or to have enough money to have a holiday house down there, because it's a few hours away from Melbourne. But still, it's just like, good grief, those houses would be over $1 million now.
Yeah.
And but it's incredible that you've got somewhere so close to Melbourne where it literally backs onto the beach and you can just walk out and be like, hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Just walk along the beach. So it'd be a good place to retire, right?
Yeah, it's a good spot. So I like it down there.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, guess that's this episode. See you in the next one, guys.
Phillip Island and AI.
Yeah, that's it. Now we're connected. See ya.
Bye.